Jsme live?
Já jdu počítači.
So, hello everyone. I'd like to welcome you on the next Cloud Native Prague Meetup. Today, the topic is continuous delivery. So, before we start, toilets are there. You can grab some food and drinks. There's also beer on the tap. And also, during the networking part, there will be a pizza. So just stay with us. We can talk about it. So something about us. So it's me, Zdeněk. I'm the CNCF ambassador. So I work for the CNCF in my free time. So I'm organizing events like these meetups and also some conferences. Also working for Czechitas and helping other conferences to become in Czech Republic. And I'm making this meetup with Pavel. He's there. He's my AV guy. So, and we are making these meetups under the CNCF. I hope that everyone knows what it does. So maybe just summarize something. You know, some projects like Kubernetes, Prometheus, Argo CD, OpenTelemetry, and stuff like this. So all of these tools are, here just because of the CNCF, because it helps them to find some contributors and also to be more famous. So, something about our community. We have the page, cloudnativeprague.cz, where you can subscribe for upcoming events. We have also Slack channel. It's a little bit dead, but we are trying to make it alive. You can find all our slides from these meetups at slides.cloudnativeprague.cz. We are also making the records for these meetups. You can find it at YouTube channel. And also, if you will need to help us with organizing these events in your company or helping us with making these meetups or just sponsor us, so there's the involvement.cloudnativeprague.cz, just a Google form where you can reach us or just reach me or Pavel via Slack or LinkedIn or stuff like that. So we are not alone in Czech Republic. So we have some local partners which are making events. So they are just Golang meetups. We have the founder of the Golang meetups here. He will be speaking today. And also there are some DevOps meetups and also similar organization in Bratislava and some other. I will show it later. So I like to show you some events which are upcoming. So first is DevOps meetup. I think it's in next week. It's in Stratox, so you can scan the code and join there if you want. Okay, nobody's scanning. It's just a link to their page for the event. It's nothing special. So, but something special is DevOps Days Prague. It's a conference which is coming next month. You can use this discount code, Cloud plus DevOps. This code is available only this week. It's a 40% discount. It's our community because we are a partner of them. So if you are going to the DevOps Day Prague conference, it's just one day in Prague. So you can use this code to get the discount. As I said, this discount is just for this week. Later I will share in our channels the different code, which is just for 15%. But this is just a temporary code for this event. So you can scan it. The QR code is just their page, not the registration with the discount code. So there's also another conference which I'm organizing. It's KCD Czech and Slovak. This year it's in Bratislava. You can use another discount code, which is 25% discount. So just join us if you like Bratislava. It's an amazing event. It's today event. We are making for, I think, 4 years. So yeah, it's one of the biggest conference in our region. So about these topics. So and there's one more. It's a web science. So if there's some listener from the Brno, so there's the Meetup. There is a conference, just a one-day conference. It's very interesting, so you can just take note about it. So, about today. So I'd like to thanks Prusa to provide this amazing space and also catering. So please make some applause for them. Thank you. Because we are still looking for some venues to provide these events, because we don't have we are a non-profit organization, so we don't have money to make it without these sponsors. So today we have two speeches. First is by Filip. He will be speaking about environment branches pattern, just about the Argo CD. So probably it's most famous for you. And also the second speak will be by Láďa, and he will be speaking about Terraform and how to make it, in a bigger thing. So, if you have any question for the talk, so please use Slido. You can scan the code. I think it will be available even during the talks, or just type CMP22. We can also give space, here, but we will prefer to use the Slido because you can vote for the questions, and probably we won't have enough time for all questions, so it's better if there will be any voting. So I will just keep 20 seconds. So CMP 22. So I see nobody is scanning. Oh, okay. And that's it from my side. So I'd like to welcome first speaker, Filip, and enjoy the event.
Ťuk.
Máš tam tohle zatím. A ty pojď rozlišen. A můžeš si nastavit?
Já, může být. Okay.
Jsi ready?
So. So, hey everyone, my name is Filip. I work here in Prusa as a DevOps engineer. And last year we went to KubeCon in Paris, and we saw there a talk, interesting talk by Acuity, who is, they are a creator of Argo, and this presentation is based on the talk. So, I will introduce an approach that really resonated with us, and we decided to use it in our work. And we believe that it is a solid strategy that deserves your attention. When you look at opengitops.dev to check some GitOps principles, you will see that it's all about desired state, how you declare it, how you version it, and how you apply it. So what is a desired state for Kubernetes? How you declare it? Well, I guess a lot of you is now thinking about Helm or Kustomize, because that's how you define your applications. But are they really the desired state? Let's take a closer look at that. Helm and Kustomize, or Kustomize, I have the Czech pronunciation, are popular config management tools. And those tools are then abstractions over plain manifests and allow you to define some common set of manifests and adapt them for different environments. We like them because it's dry and help us to they help us to keep manifests concise and manageable. Those abstractions, your repositories with Helm or Kustomize, they are typically referenced directly by GitOps controller like Argo CD or Flux. Let me say from now just Argo, and you can substitute any GitOps controller you wish. But I use Argo, so I'm kind of like, that's the first thing that comes to my mouth. OK, so Argo integrate Helm and Kustomize. It is watching your repository where you have those abstractions, Helm and Kustomize, Helm or Kustomize, and it basically does Helm template or customized build to create the final manifest on the fly. And then it deploys it against Kubernetes API. This is what we will call runtime rendering. And we will discuss some problems it can bring. I will mention 3 of them. First is obfuscation, toolchain dependencies, and performance. When we are all dry with Helm or Kustomize, we sacrifice visibility to what is actually deployed. For example, here you can see, or not, a bump of a subchart in my repository. And when I will approve a merge request like this, this is really the only thing I will see. And of course, I can examine the chart. I can try to render the manifest locally, maybe even take into account some options that I have specified on application or on Argo CD application. I mean, like options for the Helm. But yeah, good luck with that. So personally, I every time end up disabling autosync, examining the difference, the diff in Argo, and then syncing. Then I enable the autosync again, and I think this is a kind of anti-pattern, you know? Even for like minor version updates of a chart that you use, you consume, but you don't maintain, you have to like rely on the somewhere being correct, or you have to check somehow what is changing. Here I have specified some values, and for this very simple usage, you are maybe too lazy to give it a proper check, and you just deploy it to dev, and everything is fine. Then you deploy it to stage, everything fine, but then on prod it's not that good at all. Because what happened? You realized that the master block was renamed to primary block, and that you basically removed resources from your cache. And it is like, yeah, the cache won't be very happy. I won't say this didn't happen to us, because it did. OK, second problem, toolchain dependencies. As I said before, Helm and Kustomize is included in Argo. And all the manifests are rendered by Argo uses those dependencies. So then, when you update Argo, can you be 100% sure nothing will change in the manifests that are rendered by Argo, by it? I think I don't have to say anything more. Third problem is performance. Rendering manifests can consume significant resources. They are rendered when there is a change in the source, when manifest cache expires, by default it's every 24 hours, or when some user requests a hard refresh of his application. I don't have first-hand experience with this, but in the original presentation, Nicholas from Acuity mentioned that some of their customers had a node with 200 gigs RAM just for the repo server. so it can be quite expensive. So what can we do with all this? Let's try to solve it by reconsidering what do we mean by desired state. Desired state is the rendered output, but not the abstraction. And we should store it, we should render it and store it in Git. So we render the manifest in CI and store it in environment branches. You can see it on this picture where I have main branch containing my abstraction, my Helm or Kustomize, and then CI running Helm or Kustomize or anything like that will render your manifest and putting them to branches. Argo will just, or any GitOps controller, will just take the plain manifests and apply them directly to Kubernetes without any tooling between the desired state in Git and the reconciliation of the actual state. This approach treats your manifests as artifacts, just like container images. In contrast with runtime rendering mentioned before, that is like running apt-get install every time you start a container. Well, we don't do that. We build immutable images. So why should we build manifests at deploy time? By the way, this approach also allows you applying some policies like requiring merge requests, protected branches, or approvals, and such stuff that is very useful. And no, it is not Git flow, because the branches are orphaned, never merged, maintained automatically, and not used for promoting my environments. We still work just on main. Well, and that's basically it. Now let's take a look at how we implement this pattern at Prusa. Firstly, we use GitLab. We have application repo for application repo which in its CI builds the image and triggers update with the new image tag in manifest repo. For each application repo, there is a manifest repo. And in this pipeline, in manifest repo, the image is updated in main branch, and then new manifests are rendered. And finally, the manifests desired to be deployed to stage cluster are pushed directly to stage branch, and manifests desired to be deployed to prod are deployed to another branch for which a merge request is created to prod. And then there is Argo watching our stage and prod branches, deploying everything that's in it. Yeah. This is just some pipeline. This is our pipeline doing all the magic. It's basically a few rather simple GitLab CI components that will update the image, render the manifests, and push them to desired branches. You can use this, you can do like us, some in-house solution, or you can take a look at Cargo Render, which is a sub-project of Cargo, and it does basically the same thing. As I said, we have manifests, manifest repository with environment branches and rendered manifest in those branches for each application. So now how we deploy those applications. The core of our deployment lies in the core repository. It contains some Helm templates plus values defining some app projects, Argo CD airbag and Kubernetes airbag, but mainly it contains application sets which deploy the manifest from those manifest repositories. And for each application set, it also contains a next prefix application set for DevOps resources. Basically, those are resources like network policies, resource quotas, external secret stores, and namespaces, and other cluster resources that we don't want the developers to be creating. And all those templates are then rendered and pushed to the environment branches, stage and prod. And as you may notice, maybe not, there are also core applications which are just Argo CD applications referring those two branches in our core repository. So to start to to kick it off, you just deploy the core prod application and everything gets spin up automatically. Yeah, this is a snippet from the values in the core repository, where you can see how we describe application sets for teams. And yeah, you can see that there is a GitLab group where the application set can find the repositories with manifest. Also, there is a flag that if it should create the Argo CD project, but the important part is that there is a list of applications. And also, as you can see here, some anchor, like placing their members of the team. Based on this list, we will create the airbag to Argo and to Kubernetes resources. And for other teams, it looks similar. Well, I think I have time to show you some repository. No. Okay, I'm sure. What's going on? To je krása, co? Hey, now we go. This is a example application where I have already built some image, and we can see that there was this pipeline building the image. Well, it was stage build, and then triggering update in another repository, which is the, okay, I will do it here, which is the manifest repository. And here, it was this pipeline pushing to main the change of the image, and then rendering the manifest and pushing them to stage branch to the deployment resources. Now I can, well, maybe I can show you that if I create a new tag, maybe v1, there should be a new pipeline tagging the image and pushing to the manifest repository this change that should create a merge request to our prod branch. We will see how this will go. Where can I find it? Build. Yes. Now something's going on. Adding the tag. Oh, now we wait.
May I ask?
Yeah,
during
sure.
The wait time, the pre-rendering of the manifest, it's part of the application repo, not the
No,
cluster or something like this repo.
it's part the repo with the manifests.
Yeah, of the
Like-
application.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there is this repository is a repository with application code. And this other one, where I just triggered the pipeline, is repository containing Helm chart or anything that you use. And here, now, I have a new pipeline that will push the v010 tag into the main branch, then render the manifests with this tag and push them to some branch which will be merge requested to the prod branch. Sure.
And you have
Yeah, so we can hear it in the stream.
A question during
One question that, if I understand that correctly, every application have application repository with code and manifest repository for every application separate repository.
Yes.
That you have, for example, 100 application, you will have another 100 repositories
Yes.
with that. Okay. And one other thing, do you think thinking about replacing the rendering manifest and pushing them to the OCI repository is the same as Docker images?
I think it is the future.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not sure if for us, but I think like the
We're using
OCI
Influx
will
already
be,
for
yes,
that,
yes,
but
yes. We
I
use it,
don't
okay.
know
Yeah, yeah.
if Argo supported that.
Yeah, it is. It does.
It is.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is does. Okay. Okay.
So maybe I will already have. Yeah, those names of merge requests are a thing that we have to deal with yet, because it should be called V1 and not the previous commit. But we can see the change that is going to happen. We can do anything we want. You can comment. We can argue about it, and then finally you can merge it. And now back to the presentation. Maybe I want to see it also here. How can I take it here? Yeah, it's F11. Yes. Okay. This was just to show you how we do it, but now let's get back to the main thing with a short summary. The presented approach is basically about that you should not modify the source of truth just before it gets applied. That's why we consider desired state, or we consider rendered manifests to be the desired state. We render those manifests in CI, and we store them in environment branches. And they serve for us as the source of truth. Here are some benefits of this approach. It eliminates obfuscation, reduces toolchain risk, reduces load to GitOps controller, and allows defining policies like merge requests and brand project protection. And also, there are some cons. As you probably realized, the work moved from GitOps controller to the CI, so we have more complex pipelines. And also, you lose some built-in features of Argo CD or your GitOps tools like Helm hooks or some runtime value injection. So there are some cons. That's about it. Here are some resources, including the original talk. Thank you for your attention, and I'm ready for some questions. Slido.
Give a second. Yeah. So, first question. So, any plans to open source this?
Well, I think Cargo Render is the is the open source version. If you use GitLab, it already has GitLab actions for rendering and pushing to environment branches. It's quite simple tool, and it is very useful.
Maybe it's important to say that we did it before the Cargo was released, because the Cargo,
This was very early stages. Yes.
Yeah. Because Cargo last year wasn't useful. So yeah, but this year, especially at this KubeCon, a month ago, so we saw that the Cargo is pretty in a production state. So I can recommend it to look at it.
How long it took to implement all of this magic? Well, it was, I guess, in July last year when I decided to try it, and it was like maybe 2 weeks of the proof of concept, and then we started to put it to some small applications, incrementally improving the components. But yeah, it's not that complicated, so it wasn't like taking too much time.
But you should mention that migrating
Yeah,
all projects.
the migration is the problematic part. Yes.
But just the implementation of this thing, it's not so big. So
Yeah. How about Helm charts, which are quite stable, so can be left alone to be auto-upgraded by not specifying chart version? Third-party mon-agent. Okay. I'm not really sure. For this, you will have to somehow automatically run the pipeline to render it with the new version. If you have some dependabot or something pushing in your repository, then it will render the new manifests. And I think we would just skip the merge request part of pushing those manifests to prod, and it will push it there, I guess, if you're brave enough. If I understand the question.
Sorry, it's my question. Maybe I'll.
give me a second.
I'm talking about not application for business, I would say, more for infrastructure. So there are Helm charts which are parts of Kubernetes. For example, monitoring stack. I know some Alloy agents, some Grafana agent, something like is not is third party for you, and you probably should deploy it to cluster, and it done with the same flow as application. So everything is rendered, all the Helm charts.
Well, for us, we don't have it like this, but it would be nice because it would be easier to track the changes when you update, for example, Prometheus chart. Then you will actually immediately see what's going to change. You will just scroll through the merge request and see, okay, this is not this is just version numbers, and there is for some small change. This is okay for me. I can update. But when you do it like, I don't know, we have some Helm charts deployed by Terraform, and it's quite pain to see what's going to happen. You try to guess what could go wrong, but when you are sure nothing will go wrong, something will, for sure.
Yeah.
So I would use this approach also for deploying those. But yeah, as you
Okay.
it depends.
I can just add that I'd like to see some, stable Helm chart. You can show it to me, some of them. So next question.
How about using similar approach at cluster level repository, repo representing cluster composition of components, or is it used just for developer managed apps? Well, for now, most of usage is for developer managed apps. Cluster composition of components.
If you are not sure, so we can ask if
Yeah.
there is the guy who, you know.
That was my question.
Okay.
Can you like?
If you build a cluster and you composite it as as many components you put together into the cluster and make the thing work together.
Like you mean things running in the cluster?
Yeah. I mean ingresses and
Yes.
secret managers and these components. But how are you managing this part? It's completely different, or do you use some similar approach, like using for secret manager using Helm, but rendering it before it goes to Argo or other tool?
No, for now we have a lot of components that are deployed using Terraform, and I think every time you have to draw the line somewhere. You can't, for example, deploy Argo using like this. You have to first put it there somehow. But yeah, I think it like ultimately it can be used for a lot of things, but not for. I wouldn't use it for like spin up of the cluster itself.
Thank you.
I can imagine that it can also be used for the spin up the cluster and also the basic components, but you should use some components like crossplane for the spin up part, and then the crossplane can be applied in this approach. But it's not so common. It's more common that you will spin up the cluster itself via some infrastructure as a tool like Terraform, for example. And then you can spin up some basic tools, like we can call it DevOps tools, like the Argo CD monitoring and secret management and stuff like that. Also via Terraform or via Crossplane. It's not so common to use this approach for that.
Yeah. For example, we are using this approach Terraform, install the cluster, install Flux, and everything else is automatically installed by Flux. And that different approach is that we don't use Git. We use OCI repositories for Docker images and configuration of manifest. That everything is have rights to access. Yeah? If we use GitHub or GitLab, we have that issue that we need secrets and other things, and that will be more complicated. But if you put everything in OCI repository compatible, cluster already have access for downloading images, and this can be set up quite easily. I think it doesn't matter if Argo.
Yes. What GitOps controller you use is like really up to you, and it doesn't make any big change or difference.
Or if you can manage Kubernetes from Kubernetes, you can also think about vCluster, for example. I hope that everybody knows about it. It's just amazing tool managing Kubernetes in Kubernetes. So you should look at it. It's also another sincere project. So I think it was answered, so we can move on.
How do you manage secrets and their injection? Well, we have secrets stored in Vault, and we have an external secret component, which is there is interesting part to that. We have like in the core repository, when you deploy an application, then the part of the X application is a cross-plane resource that will create the like permissions for the external secret to touch just the part of Vault that belongs to the application. So yeah, this is how we do it. Yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah.
We can move on.
We can move on.
Nothing is stable enough, you don't want your Helm chart to auto-update. It's just a comment for the previous question, I guess.
We'll see.
Yeah.
No, it's also interesting that the Argo and, for example, flags are making different job with rendering the manifest. Yeah? Because, for example, the flags are using the standard Helm, to render the manifest, but the Argo CD is just using their own way how to manage it. And there is one more disadvantage, and is it that if you change the version of the Helm, for example, so it can render it and manifest in different manner. So if there will be, for example, a change of the Argo CD version, so it can cause some issues. It happens in past. So it's one of the advantages why you can use this rendered manifest, because you are sure that it will be all the time the same. So that's it for my side.
The next question: have you ever hit some performance issues with Argo at Prusa? Well, the short answer, no, because we have we have like 100, 200 of applications running, so it's not that big scope to hit really some issues. Or I don't remember if you remember.
Yeah, I can share something. We hit the performance issue with the Argo. It was, I think, 2 years ago, because we are one of the first implementers in Czech Republic for the production of the Argo. And there was some issues in past, but right now there's no issues. But yeah, of course, you can read some articles about when there's a lot of applications, there is the issues with the performance, and when you check the documentation of the Argo, there is the recommendation that you shouldn't use just one Argo instance for running all the application. There is just three structure how you should set it up. But of course, it will be changed with Cargo.
I think there is interesting talk called something like 10,000 sync applications by one click or something like that, where they really like stretch the Argo to its best. Like
it was one of the talk I think on last year KubeCon. So it was very interesting. That there is some limit, but I think that most of the companies didn't reach it, because it's a very huge number. So we can move on.
Considered to manage Terraform with Argo CD /crossplane? Well, we have. I haven't tried it. It was Pavel who tried it. Maybe he has something to say about it. I think he was not that thrilled. Not sure. Have you enjoyed trying to manage Terraform using Argo? Yes.
I think it's not the best idea. We can talk about it during the networking part, but I don't want to share it here, on the record. So.
What do you think is better, your solution or Cargo? I would say, of course, it's our solution. No, I don't see it into Cargo that much. And when we decided to go this way, the only thing that we checked is like, are we giving up on Cargo with this? And the answer was that we are not. It wouldn't be that hard to go to it, but maybe for us it's too like maybe overkill, I would say, or like
If you think about the Cargo and just for the rendered manifest, I think it's not the right way, because the Cargo is pretty good, but it has a pretty much different additional value. Like, for example, if you wanted to have some more complex pipeline, with some stages, so it will be hard for you to implement it via Argo CD. Maybe you can make some triggers or stuff like that. But if you wanted to run it with the Cargo, there are some phases. It's pretty easy to implement it. So you can still use it via Argo, not Argo CD, with Argo Stack, because there are some Argo routes, Argo workflow, and also Argo events. And you can combine it, and then when you combine for these components, it's the Cargo.
We're talking Cargo render, not Cargo.
Yeah, sure. If we speak just about the Cargo tool, not Cargo render it thing, So, the question was about cargo. So, yeah, but of course, if you just compare it with the cargo, render it, so I think it's very similar. So. Is there any question in the audience here? No question? So, if not,
I think I hit it off.
okay, it was enough. It's short. So, thank you, Filip.
Yeah, thank you for your attention.
We will have 15 minutes break, and then there will be a second speech. And after that, it will be a networking part, so don't, go away, yeah.
Bylo tomu rozumět.
Skvělá přednáška. Já jsem to... Sorry, jsem to trochu mluvil, ale to bylo dost krátký, jsem potřeboval. Já jsem furt koukal na ten čas, kam jsem to trochu natáhl.
Počkej, já zaleznu tady všechny tyhle.
Máš to na projektoru, to co uvidíme?
Jo. Co máte za Wi-Fi?
Tamhle, na zdi to je napsaný. Prusa Research Guest a Prusa Guest je heslo.
So we'll start the second part of today. So there's some slide. So Laya will be speaking about Terraform. So welcome him on the stage.
Okay. Welcome everyone. I want first ask who using Terraform? Me. Okay. Who using OpenTofu? Me. That's last thing. That OpenTofu will be soon part of CNCF. They are very near. At least what I heard from my friend from Spacelift. And this talk will be about our journey with Terraform. I am working on project that is cloud service in Azure Cloud, that pure storage working. It's Azure VMware service for storage or something like that. Pure storage for, it's quite complicated name, but it's usually running our system in Azure as a native service there, and if you have AVS, the Azure VMware service, and you want more storage, that's the solution. And we are working on that almost 2 years, and we are now in public preview. And this will be our journey to current Terraform solution that we're using, and that we start 2 years ago, and you see that it was small, and we get that issue how from normal small project you get that big Terralith, that's Terraform monolith shortcut. Who am I? I am Ladislav. I'm staff engineer in Pure Storage. I worked before in Product Board, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, APRA, and LMC. You can find my website on prskavec.net. There are posts, for example, about observability and other topics. And you can find me and follow on X, Mastodon, other as Aptris. I am co-hosting You Build It, You Run It podcast, and I also, as Zdeněk mentioned, Prague Meetup organizer for the last 10 years. What is Terralith? Terralith is usually Terraform monolith. It's a nice name. I really like it. If you are a Minecraft person, you can know Terralith too. It's one of plugins that you can run in Minecraft. That inspiration for that image generated by OpenAI. But my definition is that your Terraform is so big that you have one big shared state, and usually almost all operations. You have a main file that every refresh, update components take long, for example, 30 minutes, 1 hour to just refresh that file, all the resources, and you have tens, 20, 50 modules there, and takes plenty of time just for small change. For example, you just need update some SKU of VM, and still take a lot of time, and that make some issues for you. But it's not that Terralith is something wrong. It always depends on your use case. This approach has some advantages and disadvantages. It's it's always, it depends on your use case. That advantages is that all is simple and visible. Yeah? You have everything in one repo. You have all the dependency management on one thing. You see in plans always full set of the changes that are done across everything. You have everything in one step. Usually you apply, you see everything what was applied. If you're using Terraform workspaces, you can manage multiple environments easily with this monolith. But I see more the disadvantages in my case, and that's massive blast radius. That's the biggest issue for me, that we managing service in multiple regions, and every change usually may start impacting every region. Yeah? You can easily break every region with that change, and it was one of the things that how I started thinking how we can break it, that monolith, and making better. The other things are the state file. State file is super big, and if you editing state file directly for some specific issues you need fix it, it's very hard to do it. With split it state file into small pieces, very easy to make some operation that you need it, and everything is slow. That's biggest issue for me. But if you have some automation, you maybe doesn't care. That's depending. I remember in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure we have tooling that running every Terraform for everything. You doesn't care if they go hour or 2 hours. That's running for you, and you doesn't care. And other issue that I see is locking. Yeah, that multiple people cannot work. If it's one state file, you have common lock. You cannot easily work in multiple people. It's always issue with locking, and collaboration can be bottleneck for team. All the environments are connected. If you have it in that monolith, that can be another issue. That modularity and reuse parts are limited. You can use just modules. You have to correct versioning and all the things. The other issue are security and access control. You cannot easily forbidden some part for some people to access it. It's everything in one thing. You can maybe make some difference on the Git level or GitHub level repository, but it's very hard to do it if they running from command line the Terraform, and it's quite sometimes unpredictable as that big impact of that. And it's hard for maintenance that you need upgrading everything at once, all the providers, and that make some complicated also onboarding new people in project and how that do it. How we create Terralith? That's classic project. We start small. We don't want it to make some Terralith. We start in 2023. We create first repository with our Terraform code. It was just for our dev environment. We easily make it everything work. We have some POCs in the time, and it working. Later, and that we working on that as one team, and later we migrate to Azure, and we start working with our platform team together to some solution, and they push us in that solution. They trying standardize how a company approach the Azure, that we have some landing zones that we using in Azure. There are some recommendation from Azure how you can make rights and access control and networking. And they created one repository we called Azure Live that usually represent all our infrastructure managing by multiple teams in that one. And that's how we started, and putting everything together, and repository was bigger and bigger. And the other team join us. That's I don't see too, but we join with other team that create another part of components that we using, and we have I think 50 modules, and everything start to be complicated with more regions. And we make that decision with that other developer team that will be good approach if we create separate repos with all our modules and make it as big main that we include in that live repo, that we have one big module but on our jurisdiction and not on that share that is managed by platform team. And that works. Sometime we start 4 or 5 modules. That was super good for us, but in the time after a year that was 20 of that modules. That was super slow to run it, and we make monolith in monolith, and that was super complicated. On the end of the 2024, I really have issues that it's slow, getting slower and slower, and we start adding more and more regions, and we have quite that problem, but we make one change, and that team that I mentioned before, they left the project. We don't need them, and we can delete quite a lot of infrastructure that they using, and that's usually stay that we was just 2 teams, our infrastructure team and us, to working on that project that simplify the solution. And we have the plans to go to some integration pre-prod environment and production in next year, and I struggle with that, how we scale that up. And I decide that it will be good to have something that is called stacks. Stacks is concept that's created by a few tools. We decide to use Terramate, but I think the TerraGrant starting implementing later that. There are SaaS tools, Spacelift or Terraform Cloud. They have this approach too, that you create folders, and they are usually separated with state files, and you can have multiple of them orchestrated, and all is separate in small state files, and it's much more easy to run it, orchestrate, and make it fast. And that was on March 2024, a year ago, usually that we start implementing region in UK South for some testing, and I found that we usually copy paste for every region to new things. Yeah, the regions are the same. We use this for control plane, and we need much more developer approach to that. Yeah, make some modules that we can approach, but from developer perspective, make that dry. And I look on tooling that way, and I found the Terramate tool that support multiple things, and one of is that you can templating and generating Terraform from that, and you just make some parameters there, and everything can be generated, and you can have one set of templates for region, and that generate whole region, and if you have 20 of that regions, it's in seconds to make it. Terramate is not perfect. They don't have, for example, stack versioning and some other things that we implemented into that we done about the Joule, that we can easily roll out different versions of that templates in different regions, that we can easily roll out to pre-prod, prod, and different regions by our piece. And we implemented until August, I think, 5 regions very easily after we have this everything split into stacks and using generation and orchestration from Terramate. What we learned there, the biggest lesson learned for us was that quite often you see in an organization that all the repository and structure copy organization chart, yeah? Not really your use case or what you really want to achieve. And that was biggest issue, and pursued, for example, our platform team, that we need everything independent on them was 4 years. Take us almost 2 years to pursue them. They have own infrastructure repo with their parts. They have that access control, network, and other things. And we have separate everything, application, databases, clusters, everything is on our side in separate repo with separate modules. And that was quite important for us, that they have time for us in the beginning to implement it, the basic, but if we want for them maintenance, upgrading providers, they don't have time for us. And that was big issue for us, that we need quite a lot of changes in provider. Azure is quite often upgrading providers, making changes as every cloud provider, and they don't have enough capacity to support us, and that doesn't work us, that we push them, and they agree after almost 2 years to push it, that we are independent. Our SRE team completely manage everything by them, and we have strict boundaries on network and some access control, and that separate in different repos, and not issues with that. Yeah, and from tooling perspective, I don't want to go with Terramate into details. I had some separate talk about that somewhere. It's usually orchestration automation tool that give you some templating, code generation. They can run Terraform, TerraGrant, OpenTofu, anything. It's really tool that support your normal tooling, give you that stacks and some propagation in orchestration that you can easily share outputs from one stack to other, make some graph from that and run it. One really things that I like it, that they make a diff between your branch and main branch and running only what you changed there. That you have 20 modules, but you change one, they running just that one. It's super fast, very easily for increment development on infrastructure. But it's still good to run everything that you don't have and have some drift detection and other things. That's always useful. Yeah, and we use usually for orchestration automation GitHub Actions. We are quite big customer for GitHub Action. We running all action in our data centers, all as private runners. And one other tool that we use is some linting. We use TF-lint. That's, I think, plenty of people in Terraform using, and that's only my issue with that. That really good tool that help you with some issues with Terraform. It's not enough. If you compare any linting with Go or any language, it's much more better than any tool about Terraform. Yeah, that give you some insights, but it's not enough for me. Yeah, some typos, but sometimes that you using string references, so that doesn't help too much, and other things. Yeah, orchestration, that's really important for us. That and one other thing that our SRE team implemented, usually something as if you know Atlantis for running Terraform, it's open source tool. It's very good. I used in product board before and have good experience with that. I tried pursued our SRE team for almost 2 years to use it, and they re-implement it in GitHub Actions in 2 generations, and still not good. But finally, they are working on moving to Atlantis. That, but it take me almost 2 years to pursue them to do it. It wasn't easy. Recommendation, I already mentioned the Atlantis. I think it's very good tool if you need run it by yourself. You don't use some SaaS solution as Spacelift or Terraform Cloud or 8.0 or what is the third one, big one. The stacks are super useful. You don't need Terramate. There are other now solution, but 2 years ago was usually only Terramate, but TerraGrant should be almost done or done, I hope, stacks. But if you use, for example, Spacelift, they have supported for a long time. That's one of features why people use them. That's good things. Yeah, and what we don't choose, that's quite important too. We evaluate Terraform Cloud and Spacelift as SaaS solution, and we don't choose them for pricing reason usually. Yeah, the Terraform Cloud is super expensive. That doesn't make sense almost for nobody, I think. Spacelift have better pricing, but still you paid for runners there the similar way as GitHub Action, and if you have already GitHub Action, doesn't make sense pay both size, and we already have big amount of GitHub runners, and doesn't make sense for us to migrate. That advantage of Spacelift, some policies, some other things are not so big in that big scale that we running GitHub Actions. And the alternative is that I think Atlantis, and that's make quite sense with some stacks orchestration tool as Terramate works for us. That's all. Some questions? sure. Yeah, where do you store state files? We use object store. Azure is better than S3. That's automatic locking there. That you can directly use it without extra something for locking. That's easy to use. That's one of their container solution. There are one thing better than S3, but nothing else.
Maybe it's important to say that Terraform itself doesn't support the storing the state files in the object storage, but OpenTofu, if you know it, so it supported. It's in the last version that they created.
Yeah, but Terramate using that, it's easy to use that. Experience with Digger, I heard that name, but I don't know about it.
The Digger is, I think, something better than Atlantis from my perspective.
That's
It's
some
very
new
similar.
iteration.
I think it was even based on the Atlantis, but the Atlantis has some issues with the control plane and also own runners, because there's some limitation of keeping or having own runners from the Atlantis, and Digger supports it.
Why Terraform variables are not enough to parameterize Terraform configuration to avoid copies? That's usually things that you have some variables, as for example, name of region that are used on every module in Azure that's using required, and the Terramate doing that I have one and that's automatically applied to whole subdirectories without that I need pass to every module and everything. Just simplify things. But you can generate variable files directly, and they just generate it there, and that simplifies things. You don't need any copy paste with code generation.
I think it's the most common reason to move from the Terraform to another solution, because you don't want it to copy paste these environments to imagine that you have a big structure, and so you don't want it to copy it to everywhere. So it doesn't make sense.
Why did you choose Terraform instead of Bicep? Bicep have multiple issues. And I am working with Terraform almost 10 years. That's why. I work in AWS, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and now Azure. That I don't need to learn the Bicep. And Bicep have some issues. We have some Microsoft guy who is something as ambassador and he using that, and he don't recommend us to use it. That there was something that about real time and something I don't remember exactly, but we don't want to use the Bicep.
I work for many companies, to helping them with some CI/CDs, and I have never heard about a company who are using the Bicep. So
I know, Microsoft.
Oh yeah, okay.
And they struggle with that too. I have friends in Microsoft, and they complaining always in pub for that. Okay.
So, is there any other question here? No? If not, I have some.
Okay.
So we can continue. So, you said that there are some alternatives, like, for example, Terragrant, right?
Yeah.
So, why did you choose
Terramate?
Terramate?
Yeah, in that time that I evaluated, it wasn't stack support anywhere else from open source. That was first, guys. And I really like that's if you look on Terramate, it's tool for developers usually. That for me as SRE that have developer background, I really match with that tooling and that guys doing that code generation, make everything dry, and all that thing that was super good. I used Terragrant before for some things, and that was quite good. I really like Terratest for some testing, but have some issues. And Terragrant have issues with new features for some long time, but I think a year ago they restarted and starting adding new features exactly with competition tool as Terramate. Yeah, that starting make some differences in the market, and I think there are other tools that trying be a SaaS solution. The Terramate is not just open source CLI; they have cloud version. They are focused on observability about Terraform and other. You can run Terragrant with that too. They are really looking as orchestration tool more than anything else, and that's was fit with that. And I met them in Paris last year and discussed with the founder about the approach, and I really like it and it works for us.
Yeah, I think it's a crucial part of it because the Terragrant doesn't support any cloud run.
Yeah.
So you have to implement some other solution. But of course, all of these SaaS are using Terragrant or something similar.
Yeah.
But you still have to implement it. So I think it's good
and
to
still
mention it.
Still we have to make multiple things by ourselves. Yeah, for example. We have that code generation, and it's with versioning that we added. You create new folders for every version, and it's hard to, for example, make the diffs. Yeah, that we make special folder .latest that we always put that version and use just in pull request for make nice diffs in pull request and similar things that you don't think from before, and that versioning itself on that code generation that we have to develop by ourselves. It's not by default in Terramate. Yeah, they don't need for that, but we usually have the same stack, but moving from region to regions, and we want to be sure that we test in specific region and roll out step by step in other regions, and we can version every stack independently if we need it for some patching or fixing and all those things.
Yeah, when I compare just the Terraform with other solutions, I mean the more clever ones. So I think that it's not only about missing sharing, environments, but also getting the output from modules to modules. Because it's also pretty bad.
Yes, and Terramate solving very good to that. You can run Terramate graph, and you can see how the orchestration works, how the stacks are going, and you can share outputs between them. That's super useful for us. And what I like it, the original was that you have to nest it, that stacks for order, but they change it that you can just make it flat and just make the order by hooks before, after, and it's very easy and readable for us, and it works. And we have that specific use case that we, for example, run that, we install the cluster, we have to install the Flux, and after that we have to wait for a load balancer to wake up and get that IP for DNS later. And that's very hard, but with this we have easy to do it, that we make that orchestration and some wait call for checking resource, and after that, and it was quite easy for us to do it. And I don't know how that in normal Terraform will be possible.
Yeah, I can also share the most common way. You can imagine that you will just spin up the tool, for example, Keycloak, with the Terraform, and you wanted to also manage it. So you will just spin up it, and you still need get some tokens, which you can manage it. So you have to share it with another module. And with the Terraform, it's quite hard if you don't have it in one repo. So if you wanted to have some structure, repositories, not just a mono repo, so it's also helpful, I think.
Yeah.
So, no other question. So I think that we can close it. So thanks. So the official part just ended, but we still have, I think, more than 2 hours for the networking part. I think that pizza is coming, so it should be here in 15 minutes, I hope. So just wait and grab some beer and drink, and we can talk about what you want. Even we can speak about KubeCon if you are interested in. What was there? I think that I see here like 12 people, which we were there. I think not only from the Prusa, but also from other companies. So we can share it, some experience if you want. So just enjoy it. Thanks.